sarīkhā, gurū, miliyā, gayam sarīkhā, gurū citta sarīkhā, celā, mana sarīkhā, miliyā, tīthãĩ, gorakha, phirai, akelā, tīthãĩ, gorakhpa, phirai, akelā, Thank you. Okay, so this was a sloka from Gorakh Sabadi. The number is 189, sorry, 189. You can check that out. So now I'm going to try and explain this sloka. Right? Now the sloka, the beginning of the sloka, the first line of the sloka, right? It says, Gayam sarīkhā, gurū na miliyā. Meaning, there is no guru found who is greater than wisdom. That's the first line of the sloka. Right? It says, there is no guru found who is greater than wisdom. So, in this sloka, it clearly tells us, right, the guru, the ultimate guru, the best guru, the greatest eternal, perpetual guru is the wisdom. Because the wisdom can directly give us the experience of the reality, right? If we do not have wisdom and only have knowledge, then we will not get the wisdom of seeing the reality directly with our mind, right? We get involved in what? Knowledge. Right? So there, Guru Gorakh, he beautifully tells us in this sloka that wisdom is the greatest guru. So we need to follow the wisdom, right? And the wisdom only can show you the reality. That means the real thing, something that is not elusive, right? Something that is wrong, right? So this is what we are going to talk about, the sloka now. So that is wisdom. So wisdom is very much we can see that the importance that Guru Gorakh himself gives, right, and places wisdom as the greatest guru. So the truth is there. So why not we, right, dig wisdom and know wisdom and what wisdom can do for us, right, and what knowledge can do for us too, right. Now only having knowledge and no wisdom means the knowledge has not been applied practically. Right? It has not been applied in our lives, in our daily lives, in our present time. We are not applying the knowledge. And when we do not apply the knowledge, then there is no hope for wisdom.
Is this the kind of knowledge you get by reading books?
Yes, it's very true. Very, very true.
As opposed to experience?
Yes.
Embodiment?
Yes, the embodiment of that knowledge, right? Transferring it, transmuting it into wisdom means you have to be practical about it. Unless and until you are not practical and you don't practice, then you will have no wisdom. It's very simple. Like, say, if I ask you, like, do you know how to swim? Then if you don't know how to swim, then you'll say, I don't know how to swim.
I know the technique from a book.
Yeah. So then maybe I'll say, okay, you can easily learn that. It's very simple. Go buy a book. You will find books how to swim. Read the book, then you will know how to swim. But that is wrong, right? By reading how to swim, the person will not have the wisdom of swimming. Right? To know the wisdom of swimming, that person has to become practical.
Yeah, they have to swim in water.
Yes,
right?
he has to go to the river or the pond, wherever he can swim, and then try it out practically. And then only he will know how to swim. Otherwise, he just reads the book and says, oh yes, I know about swimming. I know about this style, freestyle, butterfly, whatever. Right? So it doesn't work, on your knowledge, because we need to always transmute that into our practical lives. Right? We got to adore them. We got to respect the knowledge, right? Because knowledge is important. But we have to also learn how to transmute that knowledge into practical, right, application. And that will give us wisdom, right? And that wisdom, it will be forever with us. Right? The only thing that will last is wisdom in the end. Right? So that is why wisdom is regarded as the ultimate guru, the real guru.
And also the guru lying within, as opposed to the external guru.
Yes, that is true.
Wisdom.
Because the guru that is inside you is yourself, right? It is that which you are really, right? And that is the consciousness. Right? If you are aware, then you are aware of your consciousness, of yourself, right? And that awareness is necessary for having that consciousness. Right? Without awareness, there will be no consciousness. Because awareness is very much important to be aware, to keep ourselves aware of everything and be aware in the present time, to keep ourselves aware and not float into the past and float into the future, right? Always stable, right? So that is awareness, which we can say that awareness is necessary because awareness merges into the consciousness. Right? It merges into the consciousness. So that means like we need to have awakened our internal awareness so that we will be able to see clearly our own consciousness, realizing our own self, right? And then when we are capable of looking at this in this way, then we will have wisdom because we will become more practical, right, in our ways, and then the way we practice the truth, then we will ultimately be able to see the real thing, that is the reality in which we are living at present times.
Right.
Right? So I think that's how it should be.
Line 2. So it's about, this sloka is about the guru
Yes.
and the disciple.
Yeah, and then the disciple, he goes on further to explain who is the greatest disciple of all. And Gorakh says in the sloka that the greatest disciple, right, is the citta, that is the chaitanya, right? Citta has the chaitanya, and chaitanya meaning consciousness, right? So consciousness is the greatest disciple. That's what he says in the sloka, right? There is no other disciple who is greater than consciousness, right? So that is the consciousness that I have, right, is the greatest celā that I possess, right? And then because I have him as my celā, that means that consciousness has to be under my control. Right? That means I will have to understand that consciousness totally. Right? So, because to have a conscious mind needs discipline, right? It needs discipline in our life, right? Maintaining all the necessities that we require to do. And the most important things that bring us together in this is meditation, right? Involving oneself in meditation to clear the citta, right? To have a clear conscious mind, we have to meditate. Meditation becomes an important part of other yoga practices, right? So meditation, we have a recitation of the mantras which help us further in enlightening us towards the wisdom of what we are trying to understand. Right? So that's how we get this
So no friend is closer than the mind.
yes. And then the next one describes this, the next line in the sloka, right? There is no friend, no companion who is greater than the mind, right? So Gorakh says this, because the mind is very important here. If we are not interested in our mind and we just let our mind, go wherever it wants to go, then we are out of control, you see, because mind is the culprit, you see. Because if we don't have any control on our mind, and then if we do not have discipline, right, we need discipline to discipline our mind also. So if we are not able to discipline our mind, that means, what does it mean? It simply means that we have to, the mind, that means, like Gorakh says, you have to go inward, right? Your mind has to go inward, right?
Mm-hmm.
Not outward, But most of the time, our mind is going outward, It's all going outward.
Into the sense objects.
Yes, into the sensual object, all the pleasures, the pain, the emotions, because the mind holds all this, the fear, right? All this is in the mind. So the mind, just goes in these directions when it is not in control. And when the mind is not controlled, then it becomes a hindrance, an obstacle for us when it is not controlled. Right? That's why people have suffering. That is the reason why people have so much suffering, because their mind is out of control. Right? That means, what does out of control means? Like not disciplined, right? That means you are letting your mind go outward. You are not looking inward. You are not going inside, right? Because if we take the mind is so much always changing. It is not stable, Persistently, it is always changing. It's always in motion, changing, flirting every time. So we need to have control of this. And only way we can have control is, that means when we drive our mind inward, right, to see ourselves. When we do that, then we start focusing on one subject. That is yourself.
Right.
Right? Your inner self, what it is. Then you start meditating. Right? And then what happens to the mind? The mind starts slowly, becoming calmer, and then slowly starts settling down and starts dissolving into its source, from where it has generated. It will sleep on its source when we take it inside.
It's almost what Patanjali says with citta vritti nirodha. Yoga is the science to control the mind.
Yes.
The cessation of the whirlpools in consciousness, the projection into the past and the future.
That is what happens. The mind, when we go outward, when we project it outward, then it is all trouble.
It's a disturbed mind.
It becomes a very disturbed mind.
Right.
So most of the time, people, right, their mind is always directed outwards. And then because of that, all different kinds of emotions are created within the body, right? Because the emotions are always being created by our organs. All the emotions, they live in our organs, and those emotions are not good emotions that live in our organs.
Like hatred, greed.
All this jealousy, all these things like discrimination, so many things that are negative. They all live in our body, That's why they call us, why do they call us a sinner? They say, you are a sinner, we are all sinners. Why do they say that? Because we carry all this, destructive, negative emotions in our body, in our organs. That's why it is so easy to generate this energy, because the mind is the energy. It's total energy, It's a powerhouse of energy. It can go outward, it can go inward, right? So we have to control that energy, right? And we need to be with ourselves, the mind. When we keep it to ourselves, the mind, then it becomes calm, gentle, peaceful, and it does not trouble the person, doesn't trouble me, right? But if my mind is always going outside, then I will become a sick person. I will be troubled so much, right? I will have worries, I'll have suffering, I'll be suffering for nothing, So that is what we have to understand. That means we got to grasp our mind and we got to take it inside us and look at ourselves, what I am right now. I am healthy, am I sick? That is more important than everything that is going on outside, right? So we need to check our own self. We need to know how to love our own selves, because the body is very important, right? That's why we need to be pure in our body, and also...
So having this experience of observing your inner nature produces this awakened awareness.
Yes, it starts producing this awareness because you are going inward, and inward path, as we go inside, then we start the process.
Towards wisdom.
Yes, towards wisdom, towards understanding, and becoming more practical about it, and practicing what is good for us every time, and becoming more positive, right? We can become more positive as we go inside it. When we take our mind right inside, then we have more positive energy, because positive energy is not present in our body, right? Because only the negative emotions are embedded in our body. But the positive emotions are not there, so we need to attract positive energy, from outside, right? So we have to use our mental faculty, our body, to attract positive vibes, right? So that it will balance all the emotions, all the evil emotions that are rising up in our body. So that is why the mind is the most important part, and it needs to be controlled. Going inward, the mind will find solace, peace, happiness, right? And the person will also start changing. But once the mind is just, thrown away outside, and it's always going outside, then it is sure to produce, a lot of suffering. Yes. So that is how we need to really control our mind. and take it to the right path, the right direction, right? And that is necessary.
And then, once you've acquired this wisdom,
Yeah.
it lets you see reality directly. You have direct experience of
Yes.
cognition with reality.
Yes. Because
And you see it
yeah.
for what it is. I
Yes.
mean, within the Buddhist non-dual view, because Gorakh also has a non-dual philosophy.
Yes.
I mean, from the Buddhist one, it's just the greatest misunderstanding that humans have is they think that everything is solid and permanent, and that they're grasping at these objects and grasping at opinions, identities, ideas that they believe are somehow inherently existing, and they're not. And this is what perpetuates suffering for people.
Yes, very true.
And so is this like a similar view?
Yeah, it's a similar view, because that's what Gorakh is also telling us to do, We need to go inside and look at ourselves, and then that will only help us to detach ourselves, right, to all the different kinds of attachments that we have, because we are going too much outward. And when we go outward, when we take our mind outward, we get attached too much, right? Too many things, or many things like that. Then that attachment is going to make a lot of suffering, right? So when we don't understand the nature of the things that we are being attached to, then that becomes more confusing for people, and they will be like trapped.
Well, like being trapped in an algorithm with AI.
Yes, because it keeps on happening, and the same thing goes like
Reinforcing
a cycle.
repetition.
Yes, and the same
Right.
energy, because they are not able to change that energy. So that same energy binds them in the same field. So that's what happens, right, when we are going too much outward, right, because outward there's nothing. So giving up everything that is outward, detaching ourselves, right, while living, living among everyone, right, living in the society, living with people, because we cannot live without people, because we are a part of the society. So to practice, right, it is not easy, because there are too many distractions around us that take us out. Our mind suddenly goes out, right, because of the distractions around us. So we have to be careful of all these things, and then try to always have this awareness, awakened awareness, that I have to keep my mind inside myself and not let it float out, and go in every time, instead of going outside, right? That's the problem people have. And yeah, it's very simple. And meditating, that is what we meditate on. Right?
Well, I look forward to seeing Gorakh's techniques of how to discipline a mind and how to purify a mind, which will come up in a different sloka. But ultimately, through this process of pratyahara, we attain wisdom.
Yes.
And wisdom is the ultimate guru. And the celā is that mind that has, has awakened.
Yes, the awareness,
Right.
awakened awareness, having all the awakened awareness.
And so then you can look at reality and interact with it
Yes.
without being disturbed
Yes.
and projecting negative, toxic emotions.
Yes, because
And being a positive bodhisattva, basically.
right, because once you realize the real truth, then all the false things that are there, they will all fall off, they will vanish, they will dissolve away, And then that truth will be an important beacon, like a beacon of light, showing you the way to wisdom, because that happens only because you are practicing it, right? And only through that practical way, through practice, only then the yogi will be able to realize this, right?
Right.
And without the practice, there's no way of realizing it. So practice becomes more important to realization, right? And realization of the self itself. And then to go further, realizing the self, the consciousness itself, right? Which has the awakened awareness, right? And the mind is controlled, right, of a yogi. And that is also, it means dying. The yogi will die to the outside world, right? He's dead to the outside. He has no concern, no connection, you see. So that is the meaning of dying when living. You know, so the yogi is alive, he's not dead, but he is dead. He's dead to the outside world, right? To this chaos and everything. He has no concern with it, right? His concern is only to heal that society.
Right.
Right. It may be through his powers or through his words, through his speech, through his action, however, like how bodhisattvas act. Right. So that is it. That is how we need to survive. Yeah.